It is my honor to share with you today here at Rock Island Auction Company something you just do not get to see anywhere else besides here. A Montany Mitrailleuse 37-shot volley gun. This is likely the only one of its kind stateside that I know of. It's an incredibly rare piece that actually was a huge leap in firearms technology, but it also had its shortcomings. This thing shot 37 shots of 11mm ammunition all at once, and the idea was to imitate artillery, but it was also meant to be used in a defensive purpose. There were two companies that made these Model 1851-67 Montany mitrailleuses. The first company, Steyr, made a small amount of these for the Austrian army. This example next to me was manufactured by George Sigel for the Hungarian infantry. These Montanys were issued 4 to a brigade, and in those brigades, they had 4 Sorlovezestags, which literally translates to spread shooting squads. There were over 1,500 men in each of those squads, and each of those had one of these. And these were used in a role similar to artillery, but not necessarily very effectively, as the French found out, who used them before the Austro-Hungarians. So prior to this design, I'm going to back way up. The Montany you see here is based on a previous design as early as 1851. And so Joseph Montany got his hands on that design, and he updated it in the early 1860s to something not quite like what you see here, and he brought it to the French military. Napoleon III was very interested in his design and decided to take it in top secret and develop it for the French military in a different form called the Refi mitrailleuse. So that form of the mitrailleuse, the Refi mitrailleuse, is what was used in the Franco-Prussian War. And they found much difficulty competing with the Prussians using the Krupp artillery. And there were only maybe 2 incidents where they were able to effectively use their, mind you, those were 25-shot variations. This is a 37-shot. Not much different, all in all. But those Refis were only effectively used in about 2 different battles in 1870, where the advancing Prussian infantry was taken down from a closer range, and it was used effectively in an anti-personnel role, as opposed to the way they were trying to use it most of the time throughout the conflict, in which they were using it from long distance, trying to guess where to shoot using primitive sights that weren't really equipped to be able to compete with true artillery of the time. Now, the Refi had a few variations. There were some where the rounds would go off one at a time as you closed the chamber. There was variations also known with a crank, a turn handle. This variation here goes off simultaneously, which some of the Refis did. And the idea was to rain down bullets. Now the problem was with those bullets, since they shot so straight, the groupings were pretty narrow. So at long range, they weren't getting the spread that they would have needed to necessarily be more effective. Mind you, those Refis did have more range than the Prussian Drazy needle fire rifles of the time that the infantry were using. So they could outrange them. So it just depended on how it was used. And the whole idea of this name mitrailleuse that I keep saying, that term literally translates to machine gun. Now this is not a machine gun in the sense of what we know of today. It doesn't follow the definition of a machine gun that we know of in modern times. But at the time, this was called a machine gun. And that term is based on mitraille, which is a translation of grape shot, which makes a little more sense when you're looking at this, because modern collectors know the term grape shot due to cannons. Cannons using grape shot were meant for an anti-personnel role, and they would shoot a bunch of small lead balls out of their cannon tube, and the spread was not meant to take out large objects, it was meant to take out personnel. And so that's the role that these were better suited for. But the French, after not being able to effectively use the mitrailleuse platform in the Franco-Prussian War, kind of pushed off the idea of machine guns all the way through the late 1800s. It took them until about the end of the 1890s to officially adopt a machine gun. They even pushed off testing the Maxim machine gun all the way through the late 1800s. And it took until about World War I for the Maxim to be widely used across the trenches from all sides. And so this gun next to me stands for something bigger. This is an incredible piece of advancement in military firearms. This is essentially one of the first, I finger quote this, machine guns used in military service, next to the Gatling gun of the time. Let's take a closer look at how this thing works. So this Austro-Hungarian Montany mitrailleuse uses a lever handle. And as I put that down, what it's doing is pushing all 37 rounds into the chamber. And when it gets to the bottom of its travel, all 37 firing pins drop. And all the rounds go off simultaneously. So these were typically operated by about 7 men, and it uses these plates, these loading plates. And what this does is it holds all 37 rounds. And so somebody actually manually loads all 37 rounds onto these, and the bullets protrude about yay far ahead of this plate. And when I have this in the rear position, this can slide right down into there using gravity. I literally just put it on a guide and drop it in, and it's ready to fire. So bang, the round goes off, open it up, dispose. And I grab the next one out of one of these 2 crates attached to the cart. Inside of here, it holds 10 of those plates. And there's 10 more next to me here. So it holds a total of 20 of those plates. And each of those plates holding 37 rounds, if you can do the math, that's about 740 rounds this can hold on the cart alone. Mind you, this was followed by a gun train behind it and an ammunition cart holding approximately over 15,000 rounds. So these things were meant to put down some serious firepower to the rate of something like 300 to almost 400 rounds a minute. And the way that they could do that was, with those crews, they could load about 8 to 10 of these plates a minute. And so they were rapidly dropping these in, pulling the lever, bang, pulling it out, grabbing the next one, loading it. And with a multi-man crew, that can be done a lot quicker than what I just showed you. But this thing could be used effectively in the right role. It also has capability for fine-tuned adjustments, including a lever here to move it left and right. And then on the far side over there, there is a crank handle, which can be turned for up and down. On the cart, it has this useful data plate here, which shows some of the ranges of how far it's going to go or shoot. And it has this cabinet here, which contains armorer's tools. And it's pretty incredible, really, that this piece still retains what looks to be just about a complete set. This is a true time capsule. I mean, it even smells like a true time capsule, but it is just untouched. This is a relic, a piece of history that is irreplaceable. This untouched, truly historic artifact, this incredibly rare Austro-Hungarian Montany Mitrailleuse, will be offered in our May premiere sale along with plenty of other incredibly rare and irreplaceable artifacts.